Digital gramophone makes no sense.
Hi, I'm Ralph Emery, and I'd like to tell you about All American Country, a new 5-record collection from...
Eat Wonder Bread. You want to grow bigger and stronger, don't you?
Golly, sure.
For an album to be one of my favorite albums, especially my favorite album by a band or one of my favorite albums of all time, I have to like that album all the way through. Like every single song I have to like. And I have to pretty much be able to put it on anytime and listen to it all the way through. The one exception that I can think of is Revolver, which is my favorite Beatles album of all time. But I really don't hate Yellow Submarine. I don't hate that song. And if I want to throw it on the turntable, then I will play it through. But if I'm listening to it digitally or streaming it or something, yeah, I might skip that song. But every other song I'm going to listen to because I think that album is perfect. I don't feel that way about this one. The White Album. And I see so many people say this is their favorite album. You know what I never say? Man, I could really go for Honey Pie right now. I really want to listen to Honey Pie. Like, I'm dying to listen to that song. You know what song I just have to hear right now? Piggies. I never say that. Ever. And nobody ever says, you know what I really want to listen to right now? Revolution 9. Like, my day is just not going to be complete unless I listen to Revolution 9. And honestly, I have to listen to Revolution 9 on repeat all day long. I can't get enough of that song. Nobody fucking says that. And if anybody goes down in the comments and says that they do, blocked. You're going to be blocked. Love the White Album. But I don't understand how something can be your absolute favorite album by a band and yet you skip songs in it all the time.
Want to know the truth. People don't want to know the truth in the Bible. If you want to turn the channel, go ahead, fool. Turn the channel.
Satan gave me this mess. It's a lie of the devil. I shouldn't have said that.
So a few weeks ago, I got some surprise VCLT from a buddy, Mazzy. He did give me a heads up. He sent me a text and said, you're going to be getting something tomorrow. I had no idea what it was because we hadn't really talked about anything that, I don't know. But anyway, it arrived and it was this. Wrong Eyed Jesus by Jim White. It's on the Waka Bop Records. So Mazzy had talked about Jim White in the non-vinyl tag. He showed a documentary about him. And I told him that I remember reading about him, but never really looked into his music or listened to his music. He said that it would be right up my alley. So, or he thought it would be right up my alley. So he sent it my way. And it is. I really enjoy this. This is a really cool record. Yeah, I mean, it touches on folk and Americana, and but there's like a funkiness to it, and there's also like kind of an outsider quality, like Terry Allen kind of was in the '70s, you know, or Vic Chestnut, kind of like that. Doesn't sound necessarily like those guys, but you know, it has that spirit to it. So in honor of Mazzy sending me this, I thought I'd do a Jesus playlist. And the first song would be off this album, When Jesus Gets a Brand New Name. These were just some other ones that I thought of right off the top of my head. I probably even have some more clever selections in my collection, but this was just off the top of my head. Lydia Lovelace's Jesus Was a Wino. Hayes Carl, She Left Me for Jesus. Got to get Bruce in there. Jesus was an only son. Tom Waits, Chocolate Jesus from Mule Variations. And this is an obvious one, Jesus by the Velvet Underground. You Don't Know Jesus by Mogwai. Jesus Christ Was an Only Child by Modest Mouse. And then, last but not least, Jesus Christ Pose by Soundgarden out of Seattle from Mazzy. Thanks, Bud, for sending me that album. I'm looking forward to spinning it a little more and letting it soak in.
Jesus.
You said it, man. Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
I brought Stanley along. He's an audiophile, right, Stanley? He checked out the specs while I concentrated on the music.
I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break. That's it.
So yesterday I'm having a chatting, messaging back and forth with my buddy Dean at Grandma's Handbag and just about whatever, and we occasionally check in with each other, and the band Ockerville River came up. This is their 2008 album, The Stand-Ins. And I told him that there were 3 albums by them. I believe it's called Black Sheep Boy from 2005. Then The Stage Names, which came out in 2007, which is my favorite. And then this one was kind of a companion piece to The Stage Names from 2008. And I was really into those albums and really into this band. I saw them live once here in Charlotte. It was a really good show. But I don't know what it was. I just kind of dropped them. And I think a bit of it was kind of there's a melodramatic quality to their music that is probably best taken in small doses. And I'm a sucker for bands like that. Those kind of big sound, big drama. I've received comments from people sometimes, ex-girlfriends or friends, and about liking music like that. Andrew Bird comes to mind, or the band The National. This band, Arcade Fire, their first 3 albums, I love. But I've also kind of dropped them as of late. I don't know. It's like when I was in high school, I was really into, and I was a teenager, I was really into U2, as, a lot of people my age, and even, slightly older, moving into their 50s, probably all had a U2 phase, if they're not still a big fan of that band. And it was that heightened drama, that appealed to me. Not so much now, I don't get the same feeling listening to Joshua Tree or Unforgettable Fire that I used to get. Most recently, when this has happened, the most recent example I can think of where this has happened is the band Pinegrove, and this is their 2016 album, Cardinal. This has a very lo-fi sound, so it's not this big, huge sound with layers, like Ockerville River or what Arcade Fire eventually became. It's a very lo-fi recorded album, but there's a lot of different instruments played on it. And there's almost kind of like a folky kind of feel, an Americana, an alt country, 90s alt country kind of sound to some of the songs. But the lead singer, Evan Stevens Hall, principal songwriter, I would say was probably, and he fits the age group, because I think he's probably in his mid-20s now. He was probably really influenced by a lot of emo bands. I'm thinking bands like, is it Brand New? Is that it? Probably got that name wrong. But bands like that, the emo sound, there's like some emo-ish type stuff going on in here. Probably, even though it's much earlier than the other band that I'm trying to remember the name of, but, like American Football. That kind of sound. But anyway, there's a song on here called Old Friends. And I still really love that song. It's very stream of conscious type lyrics, just working things out in his head. And there's a line in there about I can't remember the exact line, but he says he saw a friend named Leah, and then saw some old friends at her funeral. So like he goes directly from I saw this person recently, but then I saw old friends at her funeral, like immediately into it. Like it's very fresh. And then that leads into a line, about I should call my parents when I think of them, tell my friends when I love them. Or no, call my parents when I think of them, tell my friends that I love them. Around the time that I heard that song that year, I probably discovered this around 2017, so like a year after it came out. But around that same year, some friends of mine in a band, their drummer died in a car accident. And I wasn't very close to him, but a couple of the guys in the band I consider friends. One of them in particular I've known for a really long time, since we were like 13, 14 years old. And I just felt for my friends in that band so much. And then the other line in this is that just got caught up in my own shit. Now these lines are not very poetic, there's not a lot of art to these lines, but they're powerful. And in the context of the song and grouped together, when you're in a certain mindset, they can have a profound effect on you, right? And it was at that time when their drummer died that I was just caught up in my own shit, and I didn't really feel like I didn't have the ability to be there for my friends the way I could have at other points in my life. And I don't know. There's just something about that song and having that feeling at the time that it just had a profound effect on me. I did what I could for those guys at the time, but I didn't really feel like I could be there for them the way that I wanted to be, the way I truly wanted to be. And I think that that ties into like what a lot of us have been going through over the last year. I've been listening to a lot of music for different reasons, the way I always listen to music for different reasons, different moods, but I've really been finding a lot of music, just returning to a lot of music for a sense of catharsis to deal with the bullshit of the last, year or so. And because I feel like a lot of us, not all of us, some people have been able to just charge on, or they're just doing it without realizing, without accepting their feelings. I don't know. But I just feel like a lot of us have really been kind of grieving a life that we used to be able to live, right? And so in that sense of grief, it's these melodramatic albums that I turn to. Or even, they don't even have to have lyrics or singing, even an album like Rock Action by Mogwai I was listening to the other day. And this particular song has vocals, but Take Me Somewhere Nice has always been a song that I've turned to in times like this. So I'll say this, if you feel like Arcade Fire's Funeral, if you're looking for an album that was born out of grief, and you feel like Arcade Fire's Funeral is too melodramatic and too over the top, maybe bombastic at points, maybe devoid of feeling because it has too much emotion. It's not my feeling on it, it just might be someone else's feeling on it. Then I think the album We'll Go Riding on the Hearses by the band Quivers is just the album for you. This was an album that was born out of grief, but it doesn't smack you over the head. There's no pomp and circumstance. There's no preachiness. It doesn't really have a lot of melodrama to me. It's just a nice sounding album that just provides me the cathartic feeling that I kind of need.
I'd never felt it, I'd never heard it. I know I loved you, did I even deserve it? When you returned it, there's no suspicion, no hesitation, believing through the eyes of sore adoration. Witness and know, fracture and hurt, eyes in the fire, blink unrehearsed, shield like a house, closing its doors, curve in the dark, rinses of new.
Worst, I say to myself, at least the government has taken a firm stand.
Oh, well, they can't fool around with this the way they did with integration.
No.
This is,
It's a moral issue.
Yes!
A moral issue.
Yes, yes. It is a moral issue.
A moral
and
issue.
To me, that's always so much more interesting than a real issue.
Yeah.